Hello! Before we even begin, I know that as a result of this video, a lot of you will inundate me with comments about other modern media devices for vintage computers, such as USB and SD card modules, floppy disk adapters, and all sorts of things allowing data to be transferred easily. Now, I'm fully aware of these. I even own some, but that's not the point of this video. Today, we're looking at working with and preserving traditional media. So, with all that understood, let's carry on. Hello and welcome back to Wi-Fi Sheep, where today we're trying to fix something of a common problem, especially if you're like me and you run vintage retro computers, such as in my case, 8-bit BBC micros. What happens if you need to get data into these computers, or if you need to preserve floppy disks, for example, and what happens if you want to try and get data like this back to more modern systems like a MacLeod? How do you do that? So what we actually need is a bridging computer, usually a PC of a certain age that is modern enough to understand modern file formats and devices such as USB sticks, Wi-Fi internet, for example, but old enough to be able to write floppy disks or interface with vintage computers. Now, for a number of years, and you can see it behind me just here, I've been running this Hewlett-Packard Pavilion Tower PC. It dates from about 2004. It's a Pentium 4 based processor, Windows XP, and originally had 512 megabytes of RAM. And that was fine until about 2 years ago now. I did a video where it cooked a gig of RAM stick that I put in it. And I was totally confused, and a few of you got back to me and said you put the wrong frequency DDR1 RAM in. I never even realised that there was a frequency of DDR RAM. I just assumed it was all the same, but no, it wasn't. So it torched some RAM, and that's possibly done some damage internally. The bottom line is this PC is pretty much done, and you only have to look at the state of it to realise that it's not going on much further. Now, last month I exhibited in Cambridge at the Retro Computing Festival, and you may remember if you watched that video that I said I'd picked up a Tower PC that was outside going for scrap, so I got it for free. It's this Dell, generic Dell mid-2000s Tower PC, and believe it or not, it's actually an upgrade on my HP, so it says a lot when you're finding scrap computers going for free that are actually a upgrade on what I'm currently running. Of course, one of the things we're hoping for is that this computer does actually have a physical floppy controller card inside. If it doesn't, that's going to cause problems and may limit the use of the machine. Anyway, let's go and grab the PC and see if we can actually turn it on for the first time and see where we get to. Okay. Here's the tower in question, which got a few cosmetic scuffs, isn't looking too bad. Got this handwritten note on top, so let's just have a quick look at what that says. Dell Optiplex 760 Intel Core Duo. That's a quad, 32-bit quad processor. Windows Vista Business. Well, okay. Raw startup repair failed. 4 gigabytes of RAM. Made up of 4 1 gig RAM card, Samsung 250 gig hard drive, faulty, Dell, it says CD drive, parallel port, serial port, hard drive removed, and most importantly, free. Well, it looks relatively clear or clean, quite a big heatsink, bit of dust, single drive. It does have the ability from here, from the looks of it, to actually put a floppy drive in. Yes. And that there, if I'm very much mistaken, is the 36-pin socket that is a standard floppy controller card. So this machine does have the ability to actually attach a floppy disk drive, and obviously we could actually mount a drive inside the unit. I'm trying to see what sort of hard drive it needs. Obviously there isn't a hard drive in the computer at all. It's been taken out, so that's... I'm guessing the hard drive is fitted in here. And that actually looks like a SATA connection. I did think it was going to be a older IDE standard, but no, that looks like a SATA link. CMOS batteries there, hasn't leaked. All the capacitors don't look like they've bulged. The RAM is all in, which is good. So I'm guessing we could have a go at powering this up and seeing what it does. Okay, so I've got my TV plugged in. It's on, it's set to PC, which is the older VGA standard. There's a VGA cable running into the back of this tower. I've just put a kettle lead in. So we'll now put some mains voltage into the power supply. That's promising. We won't find a hard drive, we know that. So if I just zoom in, you can see there on the monitor that we've got to a command prompt. Drive 0 not found. Well, we thought as much. Keyboard not found. There's not a keyboard plugged in. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So I think what we probably need to do now is see if we can find a hard drive or something to put in it. Might be a good starting point. Right, I've been going through the spare store here, thinking I had spare hard drives and things. I found loads of these IDE based hard drives, and you can tell by the 40 pin connection and the Molex connector for power. That's this old hard drive standard, and there's tons of these I've got, but trying to find any SATA drives was a nightmare. I did, however, find one which I think was recovered from an Intel Mac up to the same sort of era. So this is a SATA based drive, and the difference is you can see the pin out is completely, in power pin out is completely different when you compare it to the older drive standard. So this one, hopefully this works, will be our drive. It is actually an Apple drive, but it'll be fine. How much is on this? 250 gig, you can see it there. So I'll just turn that around so you can read it better. There we are. So 250 gig drive, which I think for our purposes is going to be absolutely fine. I also dug out this 3.5 inch floppy disk drive. It's actually meant to be for an Atari ST. Hopefully that'll be fine for PC. The reason I perhaps picked this one is it actually has a black fascia, and all the others I have are beige, so this one will actually fit better aesthetically in the case, if that's what we care about. So we've got those two. Yeah, so I think we'll try and get these fitted, or at least let's get the hard drive fitted, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so fitting the hard drive, we've got two bays here and this little plastic caddy, which I think we pull those out and the drive comes out, well, the plastic caddy, sorry, comes out like that. I think these drives are all what we call zeroed, so they're recovered, but they haven't got any data on. But I think they're all in macOS journal or journaled format, so probably wouldn't be readable on the PC anyway. But we're going to reformat these, so it's not much of an issue. Okay. Okay, and then the hard drive slides in like so and clips, and then that goes onto power, and that's onto data. While we're looking inside the case, I had a horrible moment where I was thinking, where's the power for the floppy drive, because we're all using SATA power, which of course the floppy drives aren't compatible with. And then I found under here, there we go, is one, I forget what that's like, the micro or mini Molex standard. That's the old power standard basically, which is going to be compatible with the floppy drive. So hopefully we can be able to fit the floppy drive. It will go into this bay here, but we won't do that straight away because I want to just see if we can get this up and running. So I've got here a copy of Windows XP Home Edition. It's actually on I think a virtually unused official CD. But what I don't have, I don't think, is a serial key for it. Yeah, this disk has been used. But anyway, we should be able to boot off that disk, hopefully. Let's put the disk in and see if we can get this going. Okay, I think this is going to be a little while loading in whatever it's loading in. So it's clearly loading off the disk straight into RAM. So hopefully we might be able to install Windows. It just depends if I can get a license key to make it run. That's going to be the main thing. Okay, so that's just finished. Okay, so we're going to do a restart. Get the camera focus again. Ah, okay. Well, that's looking promising. Oh, okay, I thought that was going to be a lot worse than that. Well, that's been relatively successful. Now I think we probably have to see if we can install a floppy drive into the system and see if we can get that up and running. So what we're going to do is try and take these, or at least this panel out. So if I pull this down, then this actually springs out and that takes the whole front enclosure off. And you can see here we've got these blanking plates. And I really like this. The actual mount screws that you can use to mount the drive are actually there, embedded in the blanking plate, which I think is quite clever. So then, oops, I've just dropped my mouse on the floor, not good. Right, so this is, I want to see if we can slide that in possibly the right way around. So this is the power. I'm going to have to mount this in better, I know, but just for now we'll put the power in. So the drive should have power. And what I've done is, this is the drive out the other PC. This was an Amiga drive. This still works. We could use this if this doesn't work. I'm going to take the floppy cable out and we'll attach the floppy cable into the back of this. As carefully as we can. And then we'll plug the other end down here. So we should now be able to fit the plastic bevel back on. There we go. It's quite recessed, but not going to matter too much. It's in. Can't really pull it forward, so I think the design of this does have the drives recessed. Okay, I think we can power back up now and see if we can get this to work.
I did test out the drive and it didn't work, hence it was swapped out off camera for the beige Amiga unit.
So this is a few hours later, and as you've seen I've already fitted the 3.5 inch. I've also found this 5.25 inch PC floppy drive, which obviously does fit in the space normally reserved for a second CD-ROM drive. Unfortunately this one, the handle, if you like, or the lever for the disc locking mechanism is sort of jammed, common fault with these. And also the way these drives are recessed in the case, you can tell this is not designed for a 5.25 drive. The handle is actually flush with this lip, and it's actually a little bit tricky to get hold of the actual handle itself. So I might have to see A, if this drive even works with this computer, and B, I may have to swap it out for a slightly different design. So we have got halfway there. I'm quite happy with that, so I think we'll put this machine pretty much back together now and see if we can actually get the software we need loaded on the Windows side. So before we go any further, I need to tell you about the third PCB Way design contest being held this October by our partners at PCBWay.com. The theme this year is Bring Your Idea to Life. So if you have a PCB design project, why not bring it to life and join the ever-expanding PCB Wayer design community? Info and links can be found in the description to this video, and stay in touch with all the latest announcements and contest information at pcbway.com/blog. Okay, so we've finally got the PC running up to the capture card, so we can actually see what's going on screen now. So we'll put USB stick into the computer. Take a minute while it loads the driver in for it. There we go. And we'll just open that up. And if we go to my computer, we'll dump straight on the C drive. Remember, this is a new Windows install. And this is my apps folder that will drag onto there. Okay, so the apps folder has a series of installers and things I need to use. So tools basically for the use of macros, so DFS imager, MMB imager, we have file manager, and BBEM emulator for BBC Micro, and on the flop. So we'll start with on the flop. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I'm hoping. Yeah, so I seem to remember it's a long time since I installed on the flop, so it needs the Windows floppy controller driver changing over to its own third party. Right, let's see if we can get this driver installed. So my computer, properties, hardware, device manager, with this drive, double click that, over to driver, update driver. I'll say no, not this time. Next, have disk, browse, there we go. To see apps on the flop. Guessing that one. There we are, on the flop enhanced disk drive. We'll click next. Continue anyway. That's because it's a unauthorized third party. Okay. So we'll just shut those down. Let's have a look now then. Okay, I think that's actually worked out quite well. So if we put a floppy disk in, we'll ask it to format the disk, drive A, and let's pick, we go to, see, it's got all, on the flop has all these different supported file systems, so it's Tandy, Spectrum, Radio Shack, Osborne, Hewlett Packard. We go to BBC and we'll say 80 track single sided, finish. Okay. No. Okay, so that's now hopefully formatted a BBC DFS 80 track 200k disc to one of the 3.5 inch floppies. So I think what we need to do next is actually burn a disk image to that disk. So I'm just having a search on my other computer for the most recent build of Nanogangs. Okay, so just bring the USB stick back over. So let's go back to this apps for a minute. And let's just, there it is. So it's a .ssd file. So what we can now do is if we go back to on the flop, bear in mind we've now formatted this so we can write a disk. Again, drive A. Okay, so it's detected the format. Next. So now we've got to select a file and we can select this SSD image. There we go. Now we hit finish. Warned you about the use of a double density and not a high density disk. That's fine, we're using double density floppy. And that's now going to write the disk image to the disk. So we're taking a virtual disk image, a .ssd file, and we're actually turning it into a physical disk that can be read on a disk drive by a BBC Micro or another 8-bit system that's compatible with the DFS system. So there we go. It may warn you if the file's smaller than the disk, that's fine, so we'll go no. Okay, so we've actually now written, hopefully successfully, to that disk.
Okay, so let's test out the disk in my BBC Master 128. Shift brake won't work on this build at the moment, so I'll chain the program to launch it. You'll hear the floppy drive whirring away. And we've loaded into the main menu screen. Okay. So let's try and start a new game. And success! That's actually running really nicely for a game written entirely in BASIC. It's just a little slow loading the segmented data off the disk, but overall that appears to be working fine.
So we've been able to get this recovered PC back up and running, we've been able to fit it with some new drives, and I've been able to write some new media to old format disks. So for me, success and a huge problem solved in being able to keep a bridging PC up and running, allowing for that vital link between the old kit and new hardware. I just want to thank the Centre for Computing History for leaving this tower out for people like me to pick up, and I know you'll be very pleased that it's actually gone on to have a useful further life. Now, before I go, a quick reminder, I'm exhibiting at this month's, that's October 2019's London RISC Computer Show. That's on the 26th of October 2019. Details are on the screen and in the description to this video. As ever, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you real soon right here on the channel. Until next time, bye for now.